All right. Hi, Tammy. I see you have joined us. Let's get Tammy in here. Hi, everybody. We are getting going. Hello.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I know. I'm like, we did it. Yay.
Yes. Third time is the charm,
Third
finally.
time is
Yeah.
totally the charm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, it looks like we have some folks joining us today. We're all here, so I'll just go ahead and kick things off with a little bit of an introduction. So, for those of you who don't know, this is our live designer chat that we do as a part of our Rigid Heddle Skill Builder collection. We also have an 8-shaft skill builder now that will also have designer chats associated. Usually we do these on Facebook Live, but we are testing out Instagram Live instead because Facebook's been giving us some trouble lately. So if you are new to these conversations, that's what's going on here today. I'm Anna. I'm GIST's creative marketing manager, and joining me in stewarding the conversation today is Christine Jablonski, GIST's director of content and customer experience. And then, of course, we have our guest of honor, designer of the sliding sticks rigid heddle skill builder box, Tammy Bast, aka the Rogue Weaver.
Mhm.
So, just as a little housekeeping introduction, thank you all. If you are a part of the Rigid Heddle Skill Builder group, thank you for posting in the Facebook group and showing your progress shots, asking questions, helping each other out. It's so fun to see you all engaging together in that way. So, thank you so much for your participation. And this live is sort of a time for our subscribers to get to participate directly with Tammy and ask any questions they might have about inspirations behind the box or things about her weaving journey in general. So we are so excited to chat with Tammy today. If you have questions, feel free to comment them in. I'll be monitoring the comments, or if you have things that you would like to bring into the conversation, send them in through the comments. I'll be checking those as we go. We are going to try and keep the conversation focused mostly around the Rigid Heddle Skill Builder materials. So if you have technical weaving questions about those patterns, if you're a subscriber, please email those to us so we can really give them the time and attention that they deserve and we can make sure we're giving you the best help possible. All right, so a bit about Tammy. Tammy accidentally fell into weaving 9 years ago, and she has been designing for 8. Her patterns aim to make weavers' lives easier while encouraging exploration. After all, it's just yarn. Designs that look complicated but aren't too much have become her hallmark. Tammy's designs have been featured by Little Looms, and she teaches both in person and through Zoom. She has shared her expertise at the PEI Fiber Festival, Prairie Fiber Festival, Woolstock East, and local yarn shops. She has a deep love for learning rigid heddle, or for helping her rigid heddle weavers feel more confident, creative, and inspired. And through her site, The Rogue Weaver, she strives to make weaving joyful, empowering, and endlessly engaging. And then, of course, many of you know Christine Jablonski, who is GIST's Director of Content and Customer Experience here at GIST. She's responsible for nurturing GIST relationships with our current designers, like the lovely Tammy, and then finding new ones to bring you engaging content and patterns that are fun to learn and to weave. And then, in addition to Christine's duties at GIST, she is an exhibiting artist whose work has been shown in New England galleries and is held in private collections across the country. She's a contributor to Little Looms and to Handwoven Magazine, and she is the author of Soul Space Notes, which is a Substack column on weaving, art, and life. All
And
right,
and sometimes snacks and dogs. So
all very key elements, important things
very key.
we must
Yes.
include.
Hmm.
All right, I'm going to hand things over to you, Christine, to steward the conversation. But if anyone watching has a question they want to throw in through the comments, please submit it and we'll keep eyes on it.
Okay. Thank you, Anna, and thanks, Tammy. Tammy, I think you get the award for best background today. This is like spectacular and gorgeous and colorful, and Beautiful. And, it's funny because I remember, for the years that I've been reading Little Looms, keep coming across your name or kept coming across your name over and over and over again. And then the fine folks at Little Looms reached out to us one day asking if that we would provide yarn for a project that you were working on. Of course, we said yes. And then I can't remember how it happened. Either you asked me or I asked you. No, you actually emailed us and said, I would just like to design for you. And I thought, my heart is a flutter because this is like, one of this was one of my weaving goals, was to work with you. So I was just like so glad that you reached out and we made that connection. Um,
Well, when I got the email back from you, I was like, oh my goodness, Christine knows who I am. So that was pretty exciting too.
yeah. So I have to ask, first question off the bat, Rogue Weaver, where'd the name come from? What's the origin story on that?
I tend to just jump right into things. I don't read all the information. I just sort of get the basics and I just jump right in, and I'm not terribly concerned about what the rules are or what the right way to do things. People in my classes will often hear me say there's no weaving police.
Hmm.
And so I just sort of jumped in and started doing things, and very quickly was doing things that people were saying, well, you can't do that on a rigid heddle. So I
And you
was,
said, hold my beer here.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
or my tea.
for your tea.
And, I sort of talked it over a bit with my husband, and I had the accidental weaver, or I had the rogue weaver, and he really felt rogue suited me much better than accidental. Rogue is kind of my life. I don't do things normally.
You have had, I think, a bit of a journey. This was not your profession from the get-go. I believe you were in
No.
education, therapies, counseling.
Well, I studied social work, I studied theology, and I didn't ever have a um, real career. I stayed home, I took care of the kids, I homeschooled, and
Hmm.
so when I finished school for the second time, I started working at a yarn shop, and I was already a knitter
Hmm.
and had always been interested in spinning. And so that's where the accidental part comes in, because I bought a spinning wheel, and my daughter thought maybe she might be interested in weaving. So at the same time, I bought a loom, and she never used it, and it has not been empty since.
Oh, darn, right.
Yeah. Yes.
What was the first project you ever wove?
I picked out some superfine shibui yarn for the warp and a hand-dyed mohair silk and merino blend
Ooh.
for the weft. And I'd worked out the math, and it was going to be a beautiful, long, flowing shawl. And I didn't understand, and I beat the heck out of it like many new weavers do. And I got to the end of the first skein, and it was 16 inches, and I only had two skeins, and that was supposed to give me 6 feet. It's like, this is not going to do it. Anyways, I kept that project. I've turned it into a pillow cover, and it makes a really beautiful pillow cover.
That is creative reuse. Anna, you looked like you wanted to jump in and say something.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. We had one person send in a question and say they weren't hearing anything, but I'm hearing everybody just fine. And I think I haven't seen any other comments come in. If anyone else is having trouble hearing something, please submit the comments and we'll look into it. But I think maybe if you're not hearing something on your screen, check your volume on your phone or your computer, wherever you're watching it, just to make sure it's not your device. But if it is a problem, anyone else isn't hearing anything, please let us know.
So let's see. I had a similar first project. I was in a class weaving, and the instructor came over and said, "That's going to be cardboard by the time you're done, and it will take you forever to finish it." So, although I don't think I think I might have thrown it away. I might not have done the smart thing and made it into something else. But so okay, so you learned about beat in that one, and then but you
Yeah.
clearly did not get discouraged, and you pressed on.
I did. I very shortly after that, I think I started weaving in the June of that, whatever year it was. I don't remember years. And by October, I taught a 2 Heddle double width class.
Wow.
So yeah, just jump right in there. There's nothing if you want to do it, there's nothing you can't actually do. And I will say everybody got a blanket out of that class. It might have taken them a long time, but they all successfully wove a blanket.
That is fantastic. What now? So when we started talking about this, well, actually, I should back up. This box, the sliding sticks box, we launched last month. Yeah, January. We're still in February, so it was technically still last month. When you were sort of conceiving that and playing around with ideas, what was it that you wanted to accomplish with that particular collection?
I love pickup sticks. I love the ability that you have to be able to add really as many sticks as you have the patience for to create patterns that just are really interesting. They're fun to weave, but they're also easy to weave. So it might take a little bit of extra work to get those sticks in, but
Hmm.
once they're in, it's just a smooth flowing weave. You get into the rhythm of moving those sticks and moving that heddle up and down and that shuttle back and forth, and it just flows. And I I have a table loom, I have a floor loom. I really, really like them, but I love my rigid heddles. And I'm not trying to make a rigid heddle do what a floor loom does. I'm letting a rigid heddle be what it is, which is an incredibly powerful and versatile little loom.
Hmm. Do you have, I heard plural with rigid heddle, so I'm assuming you have more than one rigid heddle loom?
I do. I
Um,
started with an Ashford 32,
mhm.
and then I needed to travel across the country, so I got a 20-inch Ashford Knitters loom.
Mhm.
And then I started designing for a company who used only shacked. So I thought, well, I mean, I gotta
Yeah.
have it. And with teaching, I think it's important to have the looms that most people are weaving on so that when they run into problems, you know if it's a loom issue or if it's, some other issue.
Yeah, I think, and Anna, you'd probably remember this when we had a little chat with Deborah Jarko last summer, I believe. She had, because I had taken classes from her, and whenever she came to a workshop, she brought Shack, she brought Ashford, she brought Glamokers. I think she might have brought a Becca as well. And I think her point was like, well, I have to be able to answer questions and know what the answers are ahead of time. I can't, it's not appropriate for me to be teaching and then learning at the same time if people have a question about their loom. So she really, also tried to be as knowledgeable about all of her equipment as she could. And that's, I think, a hallmark of a great teacher, as you are. Now, you also you do a lot of online teaching.
I do.
At this point. And can you just talk a little bit about that? And I know you also teach in your home.
Yes.
So could you sort of talk about those experiences and just, are they different? How you like them?
So I love teaching. I think if I could just teach all day, every day, um, I love that light bulb moment. I love teaching something that I think seems really obvious, and then I teach it to somebody, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, this is life changing." So
Mhm.
I love those moments. In my home, I have a nice wide open space, and my husband and I we don't entertain very much, so it really is wide open. We don't have a lot of furniture, and we just anything we have, we just sort of push to the edges so that we can warp 5 looms in the living, kitchen, dining really comfortably. There's a little bit of squishiness.
Mhm.
And so I really love that in person. I love being able to get my hands right in people's yarn, and I love the okay, I don't love the panic, but I love the 30-second fix that relieves the panic so that when they go home, they can make that mistake and it doesn't matter anymore because it's so easy to fix. I really hesitated. In fact, I said for quite a long time that I wouldn't teach online because I didn't know how I could solve those problems. I didn't know how I could help people work through those things when I can't reach through the screen and fix it. So my husband set me up with quite an incredible system of a fantastic camera and multiple screens, so I can actually see people quite large actually on my screen, and then they can text me pictures during class, and if I can see their pictures, and we can talk back and forth, and I can say, well, I need this angle too, and tighten up the tension, and then I can actually then pop those pictures up onto the screen so that people can actually see the mistakes that other people have made and see what the solutions are as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've been really, really pleasantly surprised with how well the online classes go. There's, I have to set those up differently here. When they come here, they might warp here, but when we do an online class, we might come to class warped. So I need to send out the instructions for warping ahead of time. A class here, it's easy to do 6 hours, and people, they're beat at the end of 6 hours, but because it's in person, because they're talking, because they're making friends and connecting with people they've met in other classes, it works well. But a 6 hour on Zoom is a little bit challenging, and so I've had to learn to break up the classes into two, do it over 2 days, a week apart, or whatever. And it's just, there's so much. Well, there's so much technology to learn to doing it online, and then managing the technology while you're also problem solving the issues of weaving on the spot and trying to, sometimes the words that people have are different than the words I'm used to hearing. And so there's so much, and well, I'm beat at the end of the class, to be honest, but I love it. As I said, I'm really so pleasantly pleased with how well it goes. And then my Zoom folk get a video recording for 30 days too. So they get to go over it as many times as they want for that 30 days, which is, I think they like that.
And folks out here could find you at rogueweaver.com.
Yeah, therogueweaver.com. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, what did I want to ask you? So all right, so plain weave, you've done sticks, or pickup sticks, your first or your second or your very early on double width project. What would be, if teaching were not an option, because it sounds like your desert island project would be to teach nonstop, but if you were stuck on a desert island, what would be the technique that you would want to, or that you feel you could weave day in and day out, or feel like you'd have endless discoveries with?
Do pickups count as a technique?
Sure.
Yeah, I really, really love pickup sticks. There's just so much that you can do with them.
One thing that was why I was so excited about this particular box was the fact they could slide back and forth past each other, because I think I had done, I don't know, however many projects where it was, either a weft pickup stick or up in a warp stick, and then, never the twain shall pass until, I can't remember one. I think I had accidentally I unvented it or discovered when I was trying to do like a Swedish lace weave, like, oh, I can actually get these to move back and forth and not have to remove and replace. And that was a fantastic thing. And then when you and I were talking and you said, oh yeah, I can do that with 4 sticks, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. So, and I kept up, on the one hand, there was this trepidation that once we published it, I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to come back and say they can't get them to move past each other. But I don't think that's happened. So the projects from what we're seeing so far look absolutely fantastic of what
That's
is rolling
wonderful.
in.
I've had a few people message me and say they've been working on it and loving it. So I've been really excited by that.
Great.
And
Yeah.
nobody's emailed me to say that they have a problem. So
Yay, we did our job. Because it feels like every single pattern, there's like one little thing that we've missed. So I am thrilled that
that's
people
always
are
my
enjoying it.
biggest panic when I do patterns is what did I do wrong?
That's anytime Anna says to me, "We got a customer question about," my heart drops because I'm sure I screwed something up. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we just have to give grace to ourselves and others that it's all working out.
Well,
Um,
weavers are the nicest people. I've never had anybody upset because I made a mistake. So thank you
yep.
for being such nice people, weavers.
Let's see, what else did I want to ask you here? So with this particular collection that you designed, the sliding sticks, was what did you learn out of it in designing it, making it, going through the process?
Um, the charting. So I
Um,
didn't put charts in the patterns because that was really challenging to try to explain. But I couldn't ever really articulate how to know if a pickup stick would slide past another. And so I sort of designed a charting process so that now when I want to do multiple pickup sticks, I can just get my little graph paper chart out and I can design it before I ever get it onto the loom. Before that, it was always, well, let's put this one in first and see if that's centered, and then we'll try the next one, and then we'll try the next one. It was a lot of trial and error and hit and miss. And graph paper has helped immensely with that, which, in retrospect seems really obvious because all the floats have to be stacked. So it makes sense that you would use graph paper, but it never occurred to me to use graph paper.
well, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. That actually sounds like it might figuring out that charting technique sounds like it might make for a good blog post. Who
Yes,
knows? So,
yes.
let's see, what else? Any particular tips that you would pass on that you kind of stumbled across while you were weaving and designing these projects, or anything that you would highlight for people to just keep an eye out for or pay attention to while they're weaving these?
I think, if you look at the finished picture of the label plate runner, um, it looks very flat on your loom. That is
Mhm.
one that you really need to trust the process for because
Mhm.
it looks flat until you wet finish it. And then those floats just pop and things pull in and pull out and pull around. And it really finishes up so beautifully at the end. And the Strathmore, the Sero silk, that one again, it's a trust the process because we're doing this beautiful, beautiful gradual color gradient that you can't see. And it isn't until it comes off the loom that
Mhm.
you know whether or not it worked. So in my head, as I was weaving it, I'm like, I hope it's worth the putting those two strands of, one strand of each color together and making all those shuttles of all the different colors. And then I got it off and I laid it out on the floor. And Christine, I think I sent a picture to you before I even ever wet finished it because I was just so excited by how well that gradient worked. And that was something I really, really wanted to do for a long time, but to try and find enough shades of a single color isn't always easy. So it
Right.
was, I mean, those bundles are awesome.
Yes, array to the rescue.
Yeah,
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 those gradients have, I mean, I think most of array has five shades, I want to say, and there are a couple that have six and a couple that have four. But yeah, those when you line them all up or fan them are just beautiful, and they're so sweet and subtle. And um, the the folks who are in charge of creating those colors and dyeing those colors just did such a spectacular job of getting that progression just so. So it was lovely.
yeah. Yeah, it really is. I think if you want to change the colors for that, stick with the 1, 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2 seem to be very, very close,
Mm-hmm.
but the 1, 3, 4, and 5 seems to give a really good gradient.
Great. Anna, are there any questions or anything so far from our viewers?
Nothing yet, but if anyone has a question or a comment or something they'd like to bring to the conversation, please send it in. I think we've got another couple minutes here, but we're probably going to wrap up close to 3. We usually keep these at about a half hour, so
Yep.
let's call for comments and questions. Send them
Okay.
our way.
Tammy, are there techniques yet that you have not yet conquered that are on your bucket list?
I've done a little bit of twill with my rigid heddle. Um, I'm not very good at it. I keep getting totally confused in which order to thread. Sometimes you're skipping holes and sometimes you're skipping slots, and that confuses me. I haven't done any Kreugrad. Is that how you say it?
I'm not the expert on this. Believe it's Krokbrog. Well, it's and
That one.
there's a very specific kind of shape your mouth has to make in order to say that correctly, I think, and I can't do it, but I think it's
Well, that
Krokbrog.
one. Yeah,
Yes.
that one. I haven't ever tried that one on my rigid heddle, and I would really like to. I think I've seen a lot of designs that I really like, and I think that there's lots that could be done with that, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. It seems slow, and I don't do slow well.
Um, I've done it a little bit. We have these beautiful Krokbrog mug rugs that was a pattern by a designer named Karen Kruger, and we released that last summer when we launched Dwella, and I actually did set it up and start weaving some of them because I had to figure out some answers to some questions that people had. And I found it's so much fun. Now Dwella is also really thick, so it goes a little bit more
Okay.
quickly, but managing the selvages on that was that was a challenge.
Yeah.
So, but it is a really gorgeous and really fun technique. Although, actually, speaking of selvages, is that a thing for you? I know many people are very, very focused on their selvages looking like just so. And are you kind of a let them be or try to manage
No.
them person? You're
No,
like,
I really like a good salvage. But I don't struggle too much either. I keep a really high tension. I'll
mhm,
throw S hooks on the end warps if I need to, just to add a little extra tension, and that usually solves any salvage edges I have. I've used a temple occasionally with a rigid heddle.
oh, really?
I'm not sure I like it a lot, but it works. Um, but it does slow you down because you have to keep moving it. There's some yarns though, like Malabrigo, or yeah, the Silk Paca by Malabrigo. You
Mhm.
can have the straightest, most beautiful looking edge, and you go and wet finish it, and it's just not anymore. It just isn't. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I have the pictures to prove it was beautiful on the loom. What happened?
Right.
And I don't know what happened. It's got this little picot edge on it, which is pretty if it's all even, and it was, but still.
But
But
it's
I do
not what you
like
were
my
planning.
edges.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't what I planned. And I am a believer in fixing mistakes. I think, if it's a mistake and it's 6 inches back and you're not going to unweave it, then let's make it deliberate and do that same mistake,
I like
a
that.
few more times. But if you get it off the loom, if you get a plain weave tea towel off the loom and it's got a float in it, that's just so easy to fix. And I think it's worth fixing.
Hmm. And it's going to probably bug you every time you look at it if you don't fix it.
Yes,
So,
yes. But then I'm also a big believer that if you give a gift to somebody that, a hand woven tea towel or a scarf, and they point out the mistake,
Then they don't deserve it.
They don't get any more. You just take a mental note, and these
Yeah.
people do not get any more woven gifts from you.
Yeah. And actually, since you mentioned Malabrigo, I wanted to ask you about what you perceive as the differences between like knitting yarn and weaving yarn, and if you have a preference of weaving with one or the other. And do you mix them?
I use them all and I mix them. So it's called a wabi sabi. I call it a wabi sabi scarf, and I take everything that I have. So there might be 12, 15, up to 20 fibers in a single scarf in the warp. And then I use them all in the weft as well. And because there's such narrow bits in it, I warp them completely randomly. I probably never have more than 5 to 7, 8 ends of any given thing together. And I just warp them all. I weave them all. They turn out beautifully. They have some scalloped edges because, if you're using merino superfine lace that's going to felt a little bit and a cotton that's not going to felt at all, then you're going to get those wavy edges. But they're just part of the beauty of those scarves. And it's got so much texture, so much color, so much everything that's just one more thing.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I guess last question from me is, what is on your loom or looms, plural, now?
I have, on one loom, I have a log cabin double width blanket.
Ooh, lovely.
And on the other one, I have a tube that will be a pillow cover. So they're upcoming classes that I'm planning and doing videos and writing them up and getting them ready for April and June. I think those ones are
Coming up soon. And
yeah.
You have a new addition in your family.
We do. We have a sweet little grandbaby. His name is Wilfred, and he is really sweet. Like if you take a cute baby picture, up that about 100 times, and you get close to how cute he is.
Of course. And has he already got? I'm sure you already got a stack of weaving for him all set aside, or are you building that list?
Well, no, he got, May's project is a double width checkered blanket. He already has that.
Uh-huh.
And a number of sweaters, and both parents are book readers, so I've been knitting. Peter Rabbit needs his jacket, but I've been knitting little things. And yes, if I'd been less busy, and it will still happen, we'll weave some burp cloths and more blankets, I'm sure. And if I get my floor loom up and running, I'll probably weave fabric for clothing because my daughter likes to sew. So it'll be fun. Be great.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Anna, any questions or anything that we should tackle?
We had one question come in from someone who asked if it's possible to take a 4-shaft or a 2-shaft pattern and turn it into a rigid Heddle pattern. And I think it depends on the pattern, but also just depends how rogue and fearless you want to be. Tammy, I'm curious if do you ever look to multi-shaft patterns and specifically think, I want to create that on my rigid Heddle loom, or do you more create from the perspective of starting with the rigid Heddle and then just seeing what you can expand from there?
So when I started with the multiple pickup sticks sliding past each other, it was because I was looking at lace on a floor loom, and I was like, there's got to be some way that we can do this on a rigid Heddle. And so that was where that started. But no, I actually can't make a 4-shaft into a rigid Heddle, and I can't take a rigid Heddle and turn it into a 4-shaft. People ask me all the time, and I just don't have the 4-shaft skills to do it.
Sounds like maybe you just need multiple looms in the studio.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just need the time for the 4-shaft. I bought a table loom specifically to convert rigid Heddle patterns that I already have into 4-shaft patterns, and I just haven't had time to do it.
Yeah. Well, if you figure out the secret of finding extra time, please let the rest of us know.
Yes, thank you. And you do the same for me.
Absolutely. So, Okay, well, I think that's kind of wraps it up for us today. And thank you, Tammy, so much. Not only for this amazing project, this amazing collection, and the just fabulous experience it was working with you on this, but also for your patience as we rescheduled this twice, thanks to Mother Nature and unanticipated family situation. So appreciate
Yeah.
your flexibility on rescheduling this. And all of you out there, thank you for your patience on this. It was not what we had planned, but we roll with it as we have to. So
Yeah. Well,
that,
thank you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for trusting me with doing this. It was so much fun. And to be able to try all those yarns and play with them, and it was wonderful. I just really appreciate that opportunity.
Right. Well, you did them justice, did them a great
Thank
justice. So
you.
thank you very much. And
Thank
I
you.
think I think that does it for us.
Yep.
All
Thank you,
right.
everybody, for joining us. And we'll have a recording of this available that we will post to YouTube and to the Facebook group for any of our Facebook Skill Builder group members that weren't able to make it live. So if you want to tune in or circle back and listen to anything again, it'll be available for you. Thank you all for being here. And thanks,
Right.
Tammy. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.